What's up, guys? Chase Daniel here, and welcome to the first ever Chase Daniel Show. I'm going to be here twice a week with you live on YouTube, and we are super excited to just have this show. And I wanted to bring you a show that just really shows my personality. We're going to talk a lot about the NFL. We're going to talk a lot about current events, all the big news. We're going to be joined by some really, really cool guests along the way. And then we're going to have some fun with some segments about it. And I just wanted to start off the first show with saying, hey, thank you to Launch Hydrate. They are the presenting sponsor of this show. And without them, this could not be possible. And I'm really excited to dive on in. So let's hit it. Let's get right in. So first, we're going to talk Chiefs Lions. It's kickoff, baby. The NFL is finally back. Super excited to see this game play out. Number one thing, though, Travis Kelce for the Chiefs. Hurt, bruised his kneecap, bone bruise, not good. I've had that before. It's no good. You don't have Travis Kelce. You don't have Chris Jones. What are the Chiefs going to do? I still think they're going to win it. Look, this is a really good matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing the Lions, Ben Johnson, Jared Goff. Dan Campbell is my guy. I played with him back in 2017 when he was coaching for the Saints. And the dude makes you want to run through brick walls, bite off kneecaps, as he would say it. But I think this might be a tough go for them. I don't know. I mean, look, Ben Johnson and the offense, they can put up some points. Really looking forward to it. But it's going to be interesting. The storyline to me is, how do the Chiefs handle being without their top 2-3 players, without, Chris Jones and Travis Kelce? Who knows what it's going to look like, but I know it's going to be entertaining football. It's a raise the banner night. What does that mean? Well, Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, 57, and they're going to raise the banner to become world champions. They are on quite a run right now. I enjoyed my time with the Chiefs, but obviously no better way to kick off the season than a little bit of Lions Chiefs. Let's move forward. Let's do a quick previews of some of the weekend matchups. Let's go Packers Bears. Jordan Love will become just the third quarterback to start in week 1 for the Packers since 1993. They've only had Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Some teams, like the Browns, have had 16, 17, 18, 19 quarterbacks in that time span. It's pretty unbelievable. If you look at the Packers starting quarterback since 1992, week 1 starts, Brett Favre, 15. Aaron Rodgers, 15. Don Majkowski, just 1. Don't know who that is, probably the 92 guy. But Jordan Love is going to be there, and it's going to be interesting to see how Jordan Love does. I talked about this the other day on my podcast. It's such an unknown, right? You look at LaFleur and what he's able to do offensively. If you really go back and you really look at the offense of the Packers the last 3 or 4 years when LaFleur was there, it has been the Aaron Rodgers offense. LaFleur obviously has his flavor in him. Everyone knows that they've butted heads at times. He's gone on, obviously, to the New York Jets. But it's going to be really interesting to me to see how they go about structuring this offense around Jordan Love, because really there's only 1 or 2 games that he's been able to play. And obviously he played last year in the Philadelphia game. Thought it was really good. But the sample size is so small. So all these people out there saying, hey, Jordan Love's going to succeed. Jordan Love's going to suck. Jordan Love's going to do this. Honestly, nobody knows. Wait till the film comes out. Wait till you see what's happening. But what I do like about Jordan Love is that he has LaFleur as his head coach and offensive coordinator. That offense puts defenses in mismatches all across the board. They're going to have a lot of pre-snap shifts and motions. It's going to look completely different than what the offense did under Aaron Rodgers. And then you go to the Bears. The Bears are an interesting team to me. Matt Eberflus, he was my defensive coordinator in college, right? He's got those boys playing well. There's been a lot of talk about Justin Fields and what he's been able to do his first 2 years. I'm looking for a Jalen Hurts type season from him, really making that jump. Everyone knows what he can do running the football. But everything I'm hearing out of Bears camp is that they are primed and ready to go. Obviously, everyone knows that big trade you bring over DJ Moore and what he's been able to do and what he's going to bring to an offense. When a true offense and a quarterback have a true number 1 receiver, it can get scary. So I think he's going to get a lot of touches. Let's move on to Dolphins Chargers. Battle of the 2020 top 10 Quarterbacks Tua versus Justin Herbert. And it's interesting to me. Tua was the 5th overall, Justin was the 6th overall, and they were the 2nd and 3rd quarterbacks drafted in 2020 after Joe Burrow, who was 1st overall, to the Bengals. And between their matchups, they're 1-1. They've had 2 matchups. Tua's 1-1. Justin 1-1. And it's going to be interesting to see this matchup because there's been a lot of Twitter talk. That's what I like to call it. A lot of Twitter talk about the Chargers, okay? And I'm not a homer because I'm not on their team anymore. But football Twitter is down on the Chargers this year, and I have no idea why. I literally have no idea why. They have one of their best offensive lines they've ever had, okay? It's probably top 2 or 3 in the league, okay? They have the deepest weapons they have. They go out and draft Quentin Johnson. They have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer. I mean, the Chargers were one of the only teams ever to have 5 guys over 500 yards last year. And then, oh, by the way, you bring in Kellen Moore, which you look back at the last 5 or 6 years, he's been an offensive coordinator, and his offenses have always been in the top 5, 6 in total yards and points. They have made an effort to run the football. The Chargers this preseason average over 200 yards rushing a game in the preseason, right? And so Vic Fangio comes in. It's the Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator of the Dolphins, which he's going against his pupil and Brandon Staley. They work together in Denver. Brandon Staley has been really adamant and vocal about how much that Vic Fangio has meant. So it's going to be interesting to see how Vic plays that offense. I expect the Chargers to run the ball off them. And then let's talk Dolphins. I mean, literally some of the best playmakers all around, speed, and more speed. Mike McDaniel, Frank Smith is the offensive coordinator over there. It's going to be a high-scoring game. If I was betting, and maybe we might do this later, I would bet the over on total points scored. Let's move into Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys versus the Giants. Get this stat. Dak Prescott is 10-0 versus the Giants since 2017. He was 0-2 as a rookie in 2016. His 10 consecutive wins versus the Giants is the 2nd longest active win streak versus a single opponent of all time. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. There's been a lot of talk about Kellen Moore going out, going to the Chargers, Mike McCarthy coming in, running that ship. It's going to be a completely different type style of offense. There's about 30% new is what we're hearing within the offense. They haven't shown anything in preseason. It's going to be really interesting. He brought in an old-time friend, Brian Schottenheimer, to come and be the offensive coordinator for them. So there's a lot to like about the Cowboys. They're always in the talk. Can they finish it? Can they win a playoff game? Can they get a couple rounds deep? Can they contend for a Super Bowl? That division is the best division in the NFC. The NFC is this year, in my opinion, much weaker than the AFC. So I think that they could come out of that. Obviously, you got Philly to contend with, but that whole division as a whole is interesting. And then you go back and you look at the Giants and what Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley were able to do. Really looking forward to watching them in action. Daniel Jones to me was an interesting project. First couple years in the league didn't really go like he wanted it to go, and really made a turn last year with Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka. And I think the most underestimated hire last year on offense and the position coaching, it was the offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, for the New York Giants. I tell you what, he completely turned that thing around. Brian Daboll has given him so much reign in the offense. I think they're going to continue to be very creative. Obviously comes from the Andy Reid tree of how to do things. And you saw how their offense really took off. They have an excellent defense. Wink Martindale is blitzing from every type of direction. Really looking forward to that. And then let's finish off our predictions and our previews, with Bills versus the Jets. Monday Night Football. A rivalry renewed in New York on Monday night, baby. Let's go. The two New York teams that have gotten probably the most attention this year. Everyone seems to be a little down on the Bills. And I don't know why, because they still got Josh Allen. They still got Stephon Diggs. They still got that defense. They still got Sean McDermott now moving into a defensive play caller position. I really like them to make some noise this year. And everyone's like, oh, they're only going to win 9, 10 games, and they're only going to, obviously it feels a little bit, I don't know. I don't agree with it. And a lot of people out there have been putting, hey, is the Bills window to win a Super Bowl, is it closing? I don't think so. I think they're going to surprise some people. And let's talk about the Jets. They've been the storyline of the offseason. Can they continue to be the storyline of the season? Everyone knows that Aaron Rodgers came over from the Packers, but what he was able to do this offseason, you talk to him and you see Aaron Rodgers, he looks like a 25-year-old again. He's got a renewed energy. He's got a renewed outlook on life. And that's what's really exciting to me to see that, especially a guy who has been in Green Bay his entire career, moving on. Obviously, we saw it with Brett Favre. Didn't work out the best. I think this is going to be probably the most interesting matchup of the week because everyone, including my mom, my wife, they all want to see how Aaron Rodgers is going to do in that green with the New York Jets. Longest playoff droughts, just a quick note, active streaks, the Jets. 12 seasons. Their last playoff berth was 2010 with the mighty Mark Sanchez. Gotta love it. Those are our previews for the week. And guess what? It's time to bring in one of my friends. One of my best friends lives just down the street, beats me in golf, my golfing buddy. He's amazing. Let's bring in Golden Tate right now. Welcome, Golden Tate. Let's give it up, man. Let's give it up. Thank you so much for joining us, bro. You are officially the first guest on the Chase Daniel Show. How does that make you feel right now?
I am completely honored to be the first person you thought of or available to be on your show. And so when this is like top 5 of all time, I'm going to like take a little piece of that, as far as my pride. And so I'm super excited and thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about our relationship because a lot of people want to know, like, hey, man, how do you guys know each other? Because I get asked that all the time. Obviously, everyone knows about your illustrious career at Notre Dame and then going on to be one of the most exciting playmaking receivers in the National Football League. But we didn't really meet until like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was out here in San Diego. Do you remember when we first met and what happened?
Oh, No, I just kind of thought we met over at Fitness Quest 10 working out and
Yes.
we ended up throwing and yeah, I think you might have broke one of my fingers or something, but
Yeah, no, exactly. No, exactly. It was like I remember getting your number, and I remember being like, man, I need some receivers to throw because coming out here in San Diego, this is where we train. This is where I trained at least for the last 14 years of my career in the off season, and it was always at Fitness Quest 10. Shout out Todd Durkin, one of the best trainers I've ever been a part of.
No
And
doubt.
I remember we were throwing at a high school nearby, and I'm like, I'm so sick and tired because every year it would be like me, Drew Brees, and Matt Barkley would come down. There'd be other like big name quarterbacks come down to throw. We'd be throwing to like high school kids and like college kids. And by that time, I'm like, dude, we need to up our game. It was unbelievable. So yeah, I sent you a text. I got you, and I'm sure you were like, what in the world? Who is this? Who is this random guy texting? But you came out and you caught for us. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew who you were the whole time. I mean, I've been reading about you every few years, is contract after contract. But yeah, it's crazy. But it's crazy how we connected. But it's crazy, even crazier how our relationship has evolved and like where we are now. Like it's almost like football is not even really our deepest connection anymore.
No, it's not even at all. And that's another thing people don't understand. Like both of our kids, like they go to the same school together, and you guys have come over and swam a lot. I mean, so we're like buds here. I still can't get to beat you on the golf course, right? and you're still right. Like, what are you doing now? You're not playing football. Like, tell us a little about yourself. What are you doing? Like, what are you enjoying other than being a dad full time? Because that's what I'm doing right now.
Playing a lot of pickleball. And a lot of golf. I actually played golf today. Did not play well at all, but I did get an eagle. So that was exciting.
Let's go. I played as well. I got 2 birdies, but I still shot a 91. So my bad holes were really bad, and I only had 2 good holes, and the rest it's just whatever.
Hey, look, I had more double bogeys today than I had pars, so it was embarrassing.
It just wasn't our day. So I want to hit on that pickleball because you're very active on Instagram. You're very active on Twitter now, and you post a lot about pickleball. Tell me how you got into it, and you're almost like pro level. I don't know enough about pickleball, but tell people out there exactly how you got into it. And I mean, you're like I know there's like number skills. I don't even want to act like I know because I don't. Explain it to us.
Okay, so I actually learned how to play pickleball back in 2010. I was with the Seattle Seahawks, and pickleball started in the state of Washington. And I remember going over to my girlfriend's house at the time, now my wife, Elise's house, and my in-laws had this miniature tennis court, and I was like, okay, guys, why would you have a little bit of a tennis court? If you're gonna do it, do it. If you're not, if not, just don't do it at all. And they say, oh, no, 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 no. It's a game called pickleball. I was like, pickleball? What the world is that? And so they gave me this wooden paddle and this literally a wiffle ball. And then they taught us like the rules for the most part. And I was like, okay, this is a fun game, but I could never see myself playing again. Fast forwarded to once we bought our home in San Diego, it was a little bit more popular. And so I started playing once a month, and I played a lot of ping pong. So I had paddle awareness, and, I was athletic, so I can get to every ball for the most part. And so I enjoyed it. But over the last like year and a half, I've really started taking it serious. I go up to Bobby Riggs, which is where we play a lot. And it's just now that I'm not playing football, I need something to keep me sharp and competitive and active. And I feel like it's a low impact sport for me at least. And it's a ton of fun. It's the right amount of competition, but also the right amount of strategy. And also you can throw in like the social part of it. Like this weekend, I'm going to Drew Brees' charity event that's going to be a pickleball thing, and I'm gonna eat, drink, play pickle, be happy, and I'm excited about it. But like I'm just I really enjoy it. And I'm getting decent at it. I'm so far away from being a pro at it, but I have access to pros, which is super cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome because I remember the first time that I heard about it. You told me about it. Like, hey, come play some pickleball. I didn't ever do it because I'm horrible at ping pong. I'm horrible at tennis. But what I do remember, and I want to tell everyone this story because I thought it was awesome. Like, we went to a Christian dude ranch in Colorado this past year with about 6 or 7 other families, mostly quarterbacks. You were the one receiver that made it, and we ended up inviting you guys, and it was one of the coolest weeks of all time. I'm telling you, you're in Estes Park, up in the mountains, 10,000 feet up, and there's childcare for the kids, but it's worship, it's hanging out, it's mountain biking, it's whatever you want, fishing, stuff like that. And they had a pickleball court, okay, in the middle of the campus in Estes Park. And that my guy Golden was out there every single day, just putting whoopings on like Nick Foles. Who else were you whooping? Case Keenum, Colt McCoy.
Big
Everyone was there. You
Ben.
were putting, yeah, you were putting whoopings on them. I mean, it was
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would like to think that I'm on the more athletic side than most quarterbacks. I would like to think, but honestly, it was just yeah, I was trying to teach those guys a strategy. I feel like a lot of those guys are kind of new in the sport and trying to figure it out. But I was serving as a coach. But if they really wanted to smoke, I was going to give them the smoke. But
You
I
go give them
remember like
smoke.
playing with you, and you got some potential. Like you got
Yeah.
the hand eye, you got the understanding of how to move, and you know get the ball over the net. So like we just got to start drilling. I mean, there's no
Yes.
excuse for us not to drill because we're
Yeah.
like 2 miles down the road.
Or
So let's
neighbors.
just we can get you good, man. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's switch gears right now because I want to get your thoughts now that you're going to be in this football. You're going to be in this football life, this analyst life, talking about football, and it's a change, right? Like it's a change for me. This is what I'm doing. It's a change for you. We're walking through the same phase of life, so we're trying to get our stuff ready. We're trying to get the camera ready. We're trying to get the background ready. We're trying to get all this stuff. It just doesn't automatically pop up, so we're learning on the curve. But I've been just really impressed with your analyst skills. And I want to ask you a little bit about tonight's game versus Lions and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are opening up at home. It's what we'd like to call the banner game because they are raising the world championship banner. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that game, especially with the Chiefs not having Chris Jones. And it does not look like the Chiefs will have Travis Kelce either.
Yeah, well, aside from the world champions playing, the fact that my Lions are getting the opening game of the season, primetime TV versus the world champions, that means we on the come up, y'all. And so I'm more excited about that than all the other stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this matchup because Dan Campbell has turned his team around, his organization around, and I feel like we have drafted well. And I feel like Aaron Rodgers is out of our conference. So it is our time to shine. So let's go. It's a great time to be a Lions, and I'm expecting big things from my boys. Now going over to the defending champs. Look, like you said, Chris is out of there. Kelsey's battling his injury, which we don't know enough about yet. So it's given us a better chance. And as if you're a gambling man, you see the spread, changing a little bit because of those guys being out. But I'm excited to see what happens. See what happens. You look, we know the Kansas City, they're good. We know they're very, very good. We know Andy Reid's gonna have those boys ready. I think the world is really waiting to see like what are the Detroit Lions going to be doing
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think the biggest thing that I took away, and we talked a lot about it a little bit earlier, was like the Lions have the opening game. The world will be watching what Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes has built, Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, all these names, right? You finish the season 5-1, 6-1 on a roll. You miss a playoffs by half a game. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. What do you think? So going back to Kelsey, like how much do you think that affects from a defensive standpoint how the Lions will prepare? Because I know that the Chiefs, other than MVS, right? You got Kadarius Toney, you got some other guys, Sky Moore, that I think personally will have a huge game against the Lions. If I'm fantasy, I don't know a lot about it. If I'm fantasy, I'm picking up Sky Moore right now. Like, what do you think? The Chiefs are going to do on offense. So like, how do you see that envisioning going with Patrick Mahomes?
Look, I think without Kelsey on the field, it's a whole new game. Now we know Andy Reid and the MVP are going to be good, and they're going to hit their guys. And Andy Reid said it the best probably. My number one receiver is whoever Patrick Mahomes makes the number one receiver that week. That's how talented they are. But look, Kelsey is a matchup nightmare. He is practically unguardable. If you put a cornerback on him, he will abuse them. If you put a safety or a linebacker on him, he'll abuse them and then get tons of yak anyway. So like him out of the equation is, thank you. The other guys are more manageable to guard. Like Toney, we can, he's a guy we can guard him. Sky Moore, we can guard him, and the rest of the guys. So I'm interested to see what happens. They got some really good backs, but traditionally, Kansas City hadn't really been a running team. I mean, that's not how they make their money. So it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I still think the Chiefs are gonna win.
You're not gonna catch me on camera saying that. This is our year, okay?
All right. So you resonate with Detroit. Let's talk about another team. Well, not even another team, but your Seahawks days. How important were your Seahawks days in terms of your growth? I know you've told me some stories about you and Elise meeting there and just becoming a tight-knit family and just your time. And everyone knows, like, when I think of Golden, like I think Seattle Seahawks.
Wow. Honestly, the patience that Pete Carroll had with me and to just let me develop however it's going to happen, didn't push me into it. And I think it's why I was able to survive and play for a long time. I was a second round draft pick, 60th overall pick, and did not dress my first game because I just was not ready to play. I'd only been playing the receiver position at that point for 3 years because I was a running back in high school, and then I changed over to wide receiver in college.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because I knew I could run, I can catch. And little did I know it's more to that. There's other routes besides running a goal ball. So they let me just kind of, they took their time with me and molded me. And so my third year, when I finally got my shot, I kind of busted through the door, had a few big time plays. We knew that I was going to go get the deep ball. And when I got the ball, I had a chance to do something special with it every single time. And that's how I viewed myself. And so being on Seattle's team in that environment during that, with the economy and the 12th man being the best fans in the entire
Legion
world.
of Boom too.
The Legion of Boom.
Gosh.
It was everything I wanted, needed. And it kind of messed up my thought process because I came into the league, went to my rookie year. We went to the playoffs at 7-9. We acquired Marshawn Lynch. We beat the defending champions.
I was on that team.
Yeah, at home, beast
mode game, bro.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, okay, this is cake. Second year, we don't make the playoffs. Third year, we make the playoffs, beat Washington on the road, uh, come back on Atlanta and almost beat them. And in my fourth
Yep.
year, we just felt like we were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we stayed healthy. We practiced hard. We stayed humble. And next thing you know, we were in the Super Bowl and beat up on the Denver Broncos. And
Oh gosh, that was a
my fourth
beatdown.
year into the league, I was able to call myself a world champion, which is also my contract year. And it
Yes,
was like
everything
everything just
aligning.
aligned.
Yes, dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. Let's move on to a team I think is going to make some noise, and it sort of segues from your Seattle days. Let's talk about Russell Wilson and the Broncos, specifically the Broncos, because the Broncos are an interesting team to me. They play in a really difficult division, but what Sean Payton has gone in and been able to do and been able to say to not only Russ, right? Everyone knows that he's trying to make Russ come down from what he was last year with having all these people in the building and whatnot. That's very well talked about. But
Mhm.
do you think that Sean, just knowing his reputation around the league as a type of coach he is, do you think he's going to be good for that team? And what can you expect out of the Broncos this year and Russell?
Look, I absolutely 100% believe they will be better than last year. So they're definitely
Yeah.
going to be trending up. And look, for all they gave up for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton, they don't really have a choice. And if
Yeah.
this does not work, somebody's got to go up in that front office. Okay. So
I agree.
I, I want to think it's going to work, but I do not think it's going to be easy because of that division that they're in. You
Yeah.
got two MVP caliber quarterbacks and the best quarterback head coach duo in this division. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
it's gonna be hell for them to try to get out of it, but I think it's doable. You look around at the Denver Broncos and the talent that they have. They they have a lot of talent. They just struggle because they stay injured. I feel like they are always
Yeah.
injured. Like I mean,
Yeah.
already the season hadn't even started. The 10 Packers out. Jared Judy had his is having his issues, and there's somebody else who's out.
Yeah.
Um,
No, they've had a lot of injuries in camp
Javonte
early.
Williams coming off
Yeah.
injury. Sutton's
Yeah.
coming off a few injuries, and hopefully he's going to be the guy that holds it down while Judy's gone. And as far as Russell Wilson, just knowing him and his personality, like it killed him to his core to go through what he went through last year. And he, but I feel like he probably needed to experience that
No
for the
doubt. I
overall
totally
growth
agree.
and the
Yeah.
bigger picture of just football and life. And so now I'm expecting him to bounce back and be a lot better. But
Do
only
you,
time will tell.
I totally agree with you. Like, I think he is going to be bounce back. That offense is excellent. He's going to excel running that offense. He's really smart. You got to have a smart quarterback. But like my question about Russ, like, is he going to, in your opinion, is he going to buy in to what Sean Payton is selling? Because I think that he didn't necessarily maybe bought in what Nathaniel Hackett was selling. Is he? Because he didn't have a great year last year. Do you think he's going to change his mindset to be like, hey, listen, I'm going to do it Sean's way, but I'm also going to put my flavor on it.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it Sean's way and put your flavor on it. Look, Hackett, in my opinion, really hadn't proved much. I mean, he had Aaron and Green Bay, but there's a little bit more to that story. Now, Russell Wilson had been in a Seattle Seahawks uniform for his entire career, and then all of a sudden, things turn there, and he goes to this new organization, and I think he was rudely awakened. Like he thought the grass is going to be greener, but maybe he doesn't think it is anymore, and he probably appreciates Schneider and Pete Carroll a whole lot more now because you see, like, just going back to my experience, like when I was in Seattle, like everything was just perfect. It seemed like the scouting
Yep.
department, the cafeteria, the economy, the team, and everything, and like everything was in sync. And then I got to Detroit, and you just started to see like there was like different, it's dysfunctional a little bit. I mean, there's just more to it. And so I think that's what he kind of saw in Denver. I think with Sean Payton, like Russell looked up to Drew Brees, and he wanted to play like Drew Brees, but be a little bit more athletic and utilize his legs, but similar size. They play, paid close attention to each other. So I think Sean Payton has a proven good track record with Drew and has won a world championship. So
Yeah.
if you can't buy into that, then I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
what you need. So
Yeah.
I think he does buy in. I think he follows Sean's lead, and I think he gets back to Russell Wilson, the old Russell Wilson.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree.
hopefully not running as much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone's talked about him. He's losing weight. I don't know if he necessarily needs to run that offense. He needs to stay healthy, stay upright. And I do think they're going to have a great year. Let's move on to Daniel Jones. Were you with Daniel Jones 1 or 2 years?
2.
Two. Okay. What were your thoughts? Because this is really interesting to me because in my opinion, as a quarterback, right? Like the number one position. Okay. I don't care what anyone says. Number one position as a quarterback that I want to have a connection with, that I want to make sure that likes me, that I want to make sure understands what I'm doing is wide receiver for obvious reasons, right? Offensive line, they got their group, running backs, sort of loners, receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends. Like we are a group. Like, what did you take away in terms of like not only his play, because his play last year with Dayball and Mike Kafka was way better than the year before? And do you think he continues his ascend?
I think Daniel Jones can continue to go this way, keep going
Yep.
up. And if you look at his career thus far, okay, when he got drafted, okay, no one thought the Giants were going to be good at all. I mean, we just were a bunch of young guys. It was a complete dog show over there. I mean, it was crazy. And so this guy is trying to learn this, and he's kind of a quiet kid in the New York market where everybody know football in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and they gonna let you know that they know football and they gonna talk. So adjusting to that, it's tough. But look, we know Daniel Jones is smart. Comes from Duke. Okay, we know that. He's got the athletic ability. He is very athletic. He's got the size, and the guy can take off and run until the turf monster gets him. He can throw. He can make.
So
He can
true.
make every throw. I've seen him make every throw. But can you imagine being a quarterback? Okay, my rookie year, we have a head coach and offensive coordinator. Then my second year, we have another head coach and another offensive coordinator. And then my third year, then now we're finally getting, you know,
Yeah.
the
The
Kafka.
turnovers too much. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for turnovers.
Yeah.
But he's gotten better. But anyway, so like he's had it tough, like just trying to like learn these different offenses every single year. And so now he's in this offense for another year. The last 8 games last year, he lit it up on the ground and making throws. And then you
Yeah.
add Darren Waller into the mix. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
that's
excuse.
one of my I mean personally, like for me, that's one of my most underrated signings throughout the entire years, throughout the entire offseason. Darren Waller, like he's going to completely transform that offense. No,
Without a
that's
doubt.
good insight. That's
He
good
he,
insight.
he might be the leading receiver because you look at the
100%.
receivers in New York right now. There's no one that just sticks out like, oh my gosh, he is a star, or
Yeah,
or
yeah,
is going to snatch up a lot of
yeah,
targets. But you got Darren Waller, who's a matchup nightmare
yeah,
and could put up very similar numbers to Kelsey, in my opinion, if he stays healthy.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Because
Let's get let.
and this is the last
Yeah,
thing. Last thing I'm gonna say about Darren Waller and
I like
Daniel
it. Keep
Jones.
it coming. Keep it coming.
Daniel Jones loves to throw deep crossing routes.
Yep.
Darren Waller has caught a bunch of deep
Yeah.
crossing routes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's a
You're right.
lot of like you can hit those in zones. You
Yep.
can definitely hit them in man, and so Darren Waller's crafty. So watch out, y'all.
Yeah, no, I like it. I love that. I'm buying Daniel Jones, Darren Waller this year. Let's get to a couple breaking news things that we just heard yesterday. That's going on today. Let's first start with Nick Bosa, 5-year, 170 million dollar extension with the San Francisco 49ers, including almost 123 million guaranteed. By a wide margin, it will make him the highest paid defensive player in the history of the game. What are your thoughts?
My man got the bag. He got a great agent, and
Ooh,
it just shows like that he is needed. That man is a force on the field. Okay, so
yeah,
I can't even say he doesn't deserve it because he definitely does. I mean, he's a beast out there. So
yeah,
like I'm happy he got his bag. I know, like dealing with contract talks, like you want to just be able to play. And so now
yeah,
leading up to the week 1, I can just go out there and play ball. I don't have to think about
yeah.
anything else. I can give you my all, not to worry about injuries. I'm just gonna go play ball. And I think he is a baller. And I see him
Yeah.
light up a stat sheet, all pro bowl guy this year.
Do you think he waited too long? Right. His first practice is going to be on Thursday. It's going to be today. He didn't practice Wednesday, so he's not on Wednesday practice. Thursday practice usually just third down, rush the passer. Do you think he's going to be in good enough shape? And could you do that as a receiver? I know it's a little bit different, but the dude hasn't practiced at all.
Yeah, so as a receiver, I absolutely could not do it. I mean, because there's too many components going to my success. The quarterback throwing it on time, me running a route, running my route on time, getting depth. So for a receiver, no, it could not happen, in my opinion. Now for him, look, week one, everybody's going to be rusty.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get the speed of
Agreed.
the game, figure out what type of shape they're in. But I truly believe like the games are a lot easier than practice for
I
one.
agree.
So
Yeah.
I think he'll manage, and I think
Yeah.
he'll be effective when he needs to be effective. Third down, 3rd and 6. Look, you getting the best.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if it's a
Yeah.
running down, I'm gonna set this edge,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be
And
my little
he
break
might
time.
only play third down. We don't know. He could
Right,
just play third down.
right.
Let's move on to Joe Burrow. He said today, and I quote, or yesterday, and I quote, "I'm playing." What do you think? I mean, that's huge, right? He's been out the entire offseason. To have Joe Burrow back with that three-headed monster receiver, right? That
Mhm.
makes them whole, right?
Yeah, Joe Burrow. So he was dealing with a calf injury, right? Is that what it
Yep,
was?
that's right.
That he did pretty early in camp. So
Like the
it's
second
been
day.
yeah. So it's been 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Now you would know better. Was it his right calf, left calf?
I don't know. I know it was one of his calves. Now you're asking that, right? Because your plant leg is your right leg as a quarterback.
Right,
It can be completely different than your push-off leg with your front, but I'm not sure which one it is.
right. So regardless, I think that's enough time for it to heal and be
Yeah.
strong and feel good. So I'm not too worried about him re-injuring. I worry if he try to take off and run, he
Yeah.
might pull it again. But as far as like
Yeah.
making throws, being comfortable, I feel like he's going to be really comfortable. And
Yeah.
at the NFL level, like we're not trying to give you any more information than we need to give you on these injury
Oh,
reports. We want you to
yeah.
prepare for everything
Yes.
and get ready for
Yeah.
unspoken. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree. Now we're gonna do two last things, and we're gonna let you go. We really appreciate your time. So we're gonna do a couple quick hitters, and it's gonna be the MVP in your Super Bowl matchup. So tell me right now
Mm.
who Golden Tate thinks is gonna be the 2023 National Football League MVP.
Oof, MVP, man. Jeez.
I know it's tough. I'm never used to be picking, but now we're in media, so now we have to pick.
I believe that the world would love to see Aaron Rodgers get back to that role.
Ooh, that'll be his fourth, right?
Yeah,
Let's
new
go.
location in the New York market in the AFC. Now he's got all these weapons around him. I think he's going to get the media, so he's going to get all the
Yep.
votes. They were on the Hard Knocks, so it's kind of prematurely set up for it already. So
I love this
I
pick so
know,
much.
yeah, and I think that he is. Aaron Rodgers wants the lights on him. He wants the New York market. So
100%.
I think he's gonna step up and just watch him on Hard Knocks. He's been hilarious and he's been making
Excuse
plays
me.
and
It would be number 5.
yeah,
Number 5 for Rodgers.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah.
I was wrong. I was wrong. I like that pick. Now, give me your Super Bowl champion or matchup, and we are done.
Ooh, man, it's really hard to vote against the Kansas City Chiefs
Right?
with
That's what I'm
that
saying.
with that head coach, quarterback, and tight end playing. And to me, like I'm not even sure who threatens them. I think if I'm speaking for the world, I think we want to see Buffalo Bills get there. We want to see them get over that hump and do it.
Yep.
And even like Cincinnati, we love to see. I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of those three teams. I hope it's going to be Buffalo Bills, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kansas City again.
I love it. I
Out of
love it.
the NFC to me is when I look at it right now, there's no team that I feel like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
this team is just
Other than
gonna
Philly, that's it, right? Like for
exactly.
me.
Besides
Maybe the
Philly,
Cowboys. Maybe the Cowboys.
you know what? I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the Cowboys every time I turn the TV on for the last 20 years, and they are overhyped and they underdeliver every single year.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm done even like using my vocabulary on them, although they have
No.
a lot of good players. But I think Philly it's going to be for someone to take it from Philly.
Yeah.
And I really don't
Okay.
think there's anyone that I trust that could consistently do it the way Philly is going to do it. Philly
Yeah,
is
I like
look,
it.
you look at that, if you look at that roster, that offensive line, they've won a Super Bowl for the most part. You got Lane Johnson, Kelsey still in that line. They've won a Super Bowl and been to a Super Bowl. And then you look at that defense, those defensive backs can play. You know, you
Yeah,
got
I agree.
Slay, they can play. And
Yeah.
then you got Hurt, you got Jalen, Devontae Smith, you got AJ, you got
Ooh,
DeAndre
you're talking
Swift,
yourself into it right now. It's what you're
you,
doing, and
you
it's
got
right.
Rashad Penny, you got Dallas Goddard. I mean, unless they got like arrogant because they went to a Super Bowl and got complacent, I just don't see them letting up
Yeah, I
personally.
like it. I like it. All
So
right, you got a rematch. I like it. I like it. Well, Golden, hey, we're out of time, man. I really appreciate you being the very first guest on the Chase Daniel Show. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
my pleasure, man.
Hey guys, I got a really special guest. He's going to be on with us a couple times a week. He's currently an on-air producer with Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show. His name is Matt Hamilton, and he actually helped coach me in college. He was a student assistant coach at the University of Missouri. He's helping produce this entire show. Everyone welcome Matt Hamilton. Let's go, let's go, let's go. What's up, Matt? How you doing today, buddy?
Appreciate you, Chase. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be back here talking football with you. We've come full circle. We really have, from back in late 2005 when we started working together to now.
You make it sound so long ago. That was so long ago. I'm almost coming up on 2 decades out of college, man. It's wild.
It is nuts. It's hard to believe. I still repping the 07 team back
number
there.
one, baby. Yeah, we might talk. Hey, guys, listen, it's my show. We might talk some Mizzou stuff. Not today, but we're going to talk some Mizzou stuff on this show too.
Yeah, there's some exciting stuff going on there. So definitely happy to dig into that anytime. But I have to say, I was listening to you talk about Brock Purdy. And I just want to get your thoughts on him because he's really divisive. I think we've gotten spoiled in a way with the physical freaks like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Justin Fields and the quarterbacks that can do these superhuman things athletically, that a lot of people kind of, punch down on Brock a little bit because he doesn't have those otherworldly physical skill sets. But when it comes down to it at the quarterback position, right, it's about getting to the right read, getting the ball out on time, and being accurate. And I think, to me, Purdy does those things well enough with the cast he has around him to lead this team to a Super Bowl. I want to get your thoughts on Brock and the success you think he can have in this league.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he put magic in a bottle last year, man. Like what he was able to do, no one in their right mind, I don't care who you are, when Mr. Irrelevant got drafted, they were like, oh, Brock Purdy. By week 10, the dude is a superstar. And I will say that I read a long form article about him and the relationship that him and Kyle Shanahan have. And Brian Griese is the quarterback's coach. And they talked about his Seattle start. The week before they played Tampa, he got jacked up, ribs hurt. He ended up throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns, got jacked up, hit the ribs. I mean, if anyone as a quarterback knows, for me, like when you have a rib problem, like people don't understand, like we're rotational athletes, right? Like that's where it comes from. It comes from your body, your core. And they said that they knew after that game, the way he fought through it, the way he went into Seattle, they worked him out the next week in Seattle. And he didn't say a thing to anybody, okay? He didn't say one thing to anybody the entire week. That just goes to show you how strong he is when he's got these rib issues. He goes out in the field, Kyle Shanahan's like, oh my God, like he can't even throw 15 minutes before a game. Like, what are we doing? What's happening? Brian Griese goes in and talks to him, hey, like, and Brock goes up to Brian and goes up to Shane and Kyle, I can do it. And Kyle's like, no, you can't. Like, he's out there freaking out, changing the play calls because it's Josh Johnson going to play, who hadn't been with them for very long. Yeah. Ends up going out, throws for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, runs the ball. That's when they knew they had a dog in Brock Purdy. And it's not always the prettiest, right? It doesn't always look like the strongest throw or these crazy throws. Guess what? That's not quarterback. Quarterback is play within the system, okay? And he more than did that. And the thing about Brock Purdy is that he's not going to surprise you with his strength walking off the bus or his arm or how tall he is or how fast he is. But what he does do in that offense, he runs it exactly how Kyle Shanahan wants. And everyone knows about that offense. Like, you don't need a great, like an all-time pro, a pro Hall of Famer. You don't need that in the quarterback room in that offense because Kyle Shanahan's going to get guys wide open. So I really like Brock Purdy, what he's able to do. Can he lead them to the Super Bowl? I don't know. Can they stay healthy? Can they start faster than they did last year? Can they pick up steam? Those are all questions that we need to get answered.
Yeah, and you're right. Not just the system, but having guys like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey around you, just get the ball in those guys' hands and let them make plays. And, you know, I'll say this so you don't have to, but like, let's say something had happened to Drew Brees and Mark Brunell in 2009. I feel like you would have stepped in and had yourself a Brock Purdy-like season with that Saints.
Let's go. Super Bowl, baby. Super Bowl champs. That'd be a heck of a story. That's for sure.
But today I wanted to get into pick your brain a little bit, dig into a couple of things with the season, week 1, the kickoff game right around the corner. So we're going to start with a little thing I'm calling line play, where we're going to play with some of these betting lines. I want you to give me some over-unders on a couple interesting lines that stood out to me before we get underway with this 2023 NFL season. So let's start with the Jets. Right now, their line is 9.5 wins. Are they over or under that by the time we get to the end of the season?
I'm surprised when I first saw this and you sent it to me, it wasn't set at 10. So therefore, I'm taking the over. Okay, they might early in the season while they're learning the Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers offense, they might struggle on offense. But I'm telling you what, that defense has the opportunity to be the absolute best defense in all of football. Robert Saleh is an absolute genius. They've built that team on the defensive side of the ball. And then this last offseason decided to get who? Aaron Rodgers, we've talked about enough. And who else? Dalvin Cook. We can name all these playmakers that they're going to have. I really like them on the over this year.
Yeah, and you look at how close they came to the playoffs last year, even with the shaky quarterback play, because as you said, that defense was so fantastic. So I'm with you there. I definitely see that happening. Let's move on. Number 2, Justin Herbert, over or under 5,000 yards this year?
Wow. Why did Vegas decide to set it at 5,000? If it was like 49.99, like what?
So there is a lower line. I threw out 5,000 because you can place bets on that. And that's something I feel like we've seen him do it before. And I just want to put it out there and get your thoughts.
I'm going to say the under. And the reason I'm going to say the under is because the Los Angeles Chargers moving forward with Kellen Moore will have a much better run game. I mentioned it earlier how in the preseason, it's been like for 20 years since a team in all of preseason does do this. And don't come at me, haters, about preseason, because preseason matters, especially to undrafted guys like myself. That's how I made the squad. So they rush for over 200 yards a game. They rushed for 605 yards in the preseason. Brandon Staley wants to run the ball. Austin Eckler, Josh Kelly, which would be a great fantasy pickup, by the way, because I think he's going to run for 400 to 500 to 600 yards along with Austin Eckler. Can catch the ball well out of the backfield. They got some other good runners in there as well, but I'm going to have to go with the under, although I think it might be like 4,999 yards.
I love that explanation. And I was really surprised when I was looking at some things this offseason to see they had the 30th ranked rushing offense in the league last year, even with Eckler, but it was more about the volume than the effectiveness of their own game.
Exactly.
Moving forward, Dallas Cowboys, over or under 11.5 wins this season?
That seems really high, especially in that division where they're Giants, Eagles. I mentioned earlier how Dak's won since 2017, 10 straight times against the Giants. I think that ends this year. I don't know if it ends on Monday night or Sunday Night Football this week in week 1. But I'm going to go under. I just don't see how they're getting 12 wins this year. 11, yeah. 10 probably would be my best case scenario. I do think that the first few weeks, anytime you have a new offensive coordinator, which, oh, by the way, is a head coach, which, oh, by the way, he hasn't called plays since 2018. There's going to be some growing pains associated with that. I don't care who you are. And so for me, it's the under.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why this year, Chase. I'm usually one of those people that like the Cowboys get hyped every year, and they have trouble living up to it. But I don't know why this year I'm kind of buying into the Cowboys a little bit. I think they might get over that.
All
The
right.
additions
All
of
right.
Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore, I like what they have, and they're kind of, for the first time ever, they're kind of under the radar because of the Eagles, and I think that works in their favor. But yeah, no, you make a lot of great points there. Next one, Justin Fields, over or under 17.5 passing touchdowns.
This one's tough for me. Luke Getsy really turned around what they did last year offensively about halfway, the midpoint game. The turning point to me was that I think it was Sunday night or Monday. I think it was Monday night football game. I was actually in studio on NFL Network, and we were watching the game, and it's a night game at the Patriots, and they ended up winning that game. And all of a sudden, it's just Justin Fields around the left edge, Justin Fields around the right edge. So the quarterback run game really changed. I'm going to say over. I'm a big Justin Fields, Chicago Bear. Matt Eberflus is my guy. So I'm a fan. I played there for 2 years, was one of the best 2-year span of my career. Loved it. But I do think Justin Fields, with his growth going into year 3, I really liken it to the Jalen Hurts jump from year 2 to year 3 and what he was able to do last year. I don't think their roster is remotely as good as the Eagles roster was to help him, but I do think they've surrounded him with a better offensive line, with more weapons, like my guy DJ Moore. I think he's going to have a heck of a year. I think DJ Moore might have 10 of those touchdowns this year.
Let's go. And I'm excited for DJ Moore. He's had a lot of shaky quarterback situations through his first few years in this league. So I'm excited for him to get a fresh start. I think he's a lot better than people realize, and I think he's going to go off with Fields. I'm with you there. Last one for you. Jaguars, over or under 9.5 wins?
Oh man, this one I struggled with a little bit. Like I love Doug Peterson. He was my offensive coordinator for 3 years in Kansas City. He brought me to Philly with them in 2016. They won the Super Bowl in 2017. How it went down with him in Philly, I'm still a little bit pissed about. I didn't think it was the right thing to do to let him go. And I know it was like, oh, whatever. He got fired. Let's call it what it is. And took a year off. And then what he was able to do last year with the Jacksonville Jaguars after the absolute dumpster fire that Urban Meyer caused the year before was might have been one of the best coaching performances I've seen in the past 5 to 10 years, because that was a big issue with Urban, right? And what Doug has done there is bring a culture of belief, of empowering your players, of really just standing by what they believe in. And what he was able to do last year, even though I was on the wrong end of it, in that wild card game, which was the craziest game of all time. It was the second largest comeback in NFL playoff history. Oh, by the way, I've been a part of the first and the worst comeback in NFL history, 2013 Chiefs Colts. So I've been on some really, really, really bad losing ends. But I'm going to go ahead and go say over. I don't think they're going to surprise anyone this year, but I do think a 10-7 record, especially in that division that they're in, it can be doable.
Yeah, and I'm glad you got the chance to give Doug Peterson some credit for that, because that was it. And it wasn't just rebuilding the culture, but also building Trevor Lawrence back up. You could see, I think that kind of shook his confidence, all the stuff that went on with Urban Meyer. And, you saw him just get stronger and stronger as the year went on. He actually was the NFL's #1 rated passer over the second half of last season. So credit to Doug Peterson. I hope you're right there, and we see the Jaguars have another big year. Last thing we're going to do today, rapid fire. Let's get into it. Awards predictions. Before we get week 1 kicked off, I want to get the big individual awards and maybe a Super Bowl matchup out of you. So let's run through it. First up, Offensive Rookie of the Year.
This one to me was the easiest. Bijan Robinson. I love the pick. Think Alvin Kamara, but bigger. And what surprised me was what he was able to do in preseason, in training camp, everything I've heard out of the backfield, right? Running routes. Everyone knows he's going to get the ball handed off to him, but he looked really, really good in some preseason tape I saw running some routes. So I like Bijan Robinson.
And Arthur Smith is a mad genius. I'm so excited to see what that offense looks like this year. Love that pick. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Will Anderson Jr. To me, it's not even a question. And it's not only because I love Will Anderson, what he's doing, but that entire defense, and it's going to be built around what they did in San Francisco with DeMeco Ryans, is all about getting to the quarterback. They literally sit in meetings and say, rush the quarterback. I don't care if it's a run. I don't care if it's a draw or a screen. That's what's hurt them in the past. Go get sacks, disrupt the quarterback timing. He's going to be one of those guys for DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And that Texans team overall, they're not going to be a doormat this year. I think anybody seeing that game on the schedule and looking at it as an easy win is in for a little bit of a surprise. Next up, Coach of the Year.
I struggled with this one a little bit because I got a lot of coaches I like, but I'm going to end up, and I'm going to stand by it. I don't care what anyone says. Zach Taylor, okay? The Bengals, baby. Let's go. I do think that they are going to, I hate to say surprise people because they're obviously in the top 2 or 3, but I do think they really will take the next step offensively if Joe Burrow is healthy to start the year.
Yeah, it does sound like it's trending that way. We're hearing a lot of positive things. He was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. So a lot of good things coming out of Bengals camp as far as his health and maybe even an extension over the next couple of days. We'll see what happens with that. I thought you were going to say Sean Payton. I'm a little surprised you didn't go with your guy, but I'm sure
too much of a homer. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And next up, the big one, MVP. Who do you
Joe
got?
Joe Burrow, baby. Let's go. I'm riding with the Bengals this year. I just think it's such an easy, and these are my first times doing it, right? Because I've always been a player. I've never really cared about this. Now I really care and put a lot of effort and thought into it. But I do think the easy cop out will be Patrick Mahomes because he's going to, as long as he's playing, he's going to be in the conversation every single year. This year is Joe Burrow, baby.
Wow. So I'm assuming I know one side of your picking this, but I'm going to ask your Super Bowl matchup with the way those last 2 answers went. But who do you have? Who do you have in your Super Bowl matchup for this year?
Bengals, San Fran, baby. And I'm not picking a winner because I don't know yet. It's too early to tell. I used to hate media people that do that. But I like Cincy. I think Cincy gets over that hump again and beats Kansas City. And I just think San Fran, if Brock Purdy can stay healthy, second year in the offense, that defense under Steve Wilkes is going to blitz even more than they did under DeMeco Ryans. Bengals, San Fran, don't ask me to pick a winner.
It's funny, Chase. I made the same pick on Monday, and I said the same thing. I hate picking a winner between a game where, we don't even know who's going to be healthy, who's going to be on those teams yet. But I actually have those same 2 teams as well, so I'm riding with you. Awesome. A little throwback to the late 80s there with that Super Bowl. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, Chase, this has been fun. Appreciate you bringing me in here for your first show.
Yeah, we're going to have Matt Hamilton joining us almost every show that we do. Once again, this is the Chase Daniels Show. It's our inaugural show, and we're going to be on twice a week. It's going to live on YouTube. It's going to live on social media, and we're going to plan on having some really, really fun guests. And once again, I just really want to thank Launch Hydrate. They made this whole thing possible, and guys, we're in for a great, great season. See you guys later.